Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Very good afternoon, sisters and brothers of IPF 2019. Very happy to see you again here for the next week, for this week, and we are going to carry on what we had discussed before on applied macroeconomics and practical application of macroeconomics. Okay, before we start, have you finished your last assignments or last course, or any problem so far, sisters and brothers? Okay, you can start with your my class actually. So all of the assignments and details has been put here, by the way, so you can see by your own, including with assignment and so forth. And by the way, unfortunately, I don't receive any single assignment from you. In other words, there is no any single student who have submitted the assignments. But doesn't matter, because we give you extra time according to the system. So the system will manage automatically, and I cannot change the systems. So if the system has closed, so then you cannot submit it at all, any single assignment. Okay, so if you have opened your my class, by the way, I have already made some modification in terms of the appearance, and you can see the details of the class meeting every week, including the attendance. You can click your attendance automatically by your own. And also I put there some information concerning with the journals that we are having: International Journal of Islamic Economics and Finance, and the textbook. I have also put there the link for the download. You can freely download the books. And also I put some information concerning with the class meeting. And today we are going to continue this class meeting 2, or second class meeting, 21st until 28th of September. And if you go through your class meeting plan, so we are now in the second meeting, and we will discuss about data of macroeconomics. Okay, please just open yours, and I will see there. Okay. So now we are going to take discussion on gross domestic product and gross national product. And we also conduct some practical application on how to calculate the GDP and also unemployment, so that you can little bit apply when you are writing a paper, or you are going to completing your final thesis. Okay, so far any student cannot open the my class? I can enroll you now before we start. Any problem with the my class?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay.
It's
So
fixed.
if you okay, we can continue, and you can open by your own the video. I have not yet uploaded the file. Yeah, I will upload later on when the class ended. Okay, now I will show you the slide for today. And you can, by the way, sisters and brothers, you can click the book, because I take all of the slides and assignments and all things from the book. Please, you can kindly open the book here from clicking the link, the textbook. Please click the link of the textbook, and you are directed to download the book freely. And if you have opened the book, then please kindly open chapter 2. Okay, I will just show you here just a bit. Okay, I give you another 5 minutes to open the link. So we have the same book and the same reference. If you have opened the book, please open page. Just click in the PDF page. Okay, page 675, 675. Okay, here the chapter 2, the science of macroeconomics, and the chapter 2, sorry, the data of macroeconomics. So in this chapter, you will learn about GDP and its calculations, and the unemployment rate and its calculations. Okay, by the way, sister and brothers, the GDP is the main focus on the macroeconomics theories. Yeah, if you look from different resources and references, every economist tries to refer the GDP as the main proxy for measuring economic growth. So therefore, we need to a little bit detail out what is the GDP. What is the difference between GDP and GNP? Which is the best measurement in order to capture the existing growth of the economy, whether GDP or GNP. So those are the issues that are outstanding among economists. And here we try to a bit discuss on it. Okay, the first one is about GDP. I just recall quickly, yeah, because I do so you have learned this terminology. So GDP here is the total expenditures, yeah, domestically produced final goods and services, or total income earned by domestically located factors of production. So from these two different terminologies, you can know that the GDP basically is the total output in a particular country in a particular year that produced by domestic countries, not outside the countries. Yeah, or maybe the income earned by the factor productions, such as land, such as labor, yeah, capital, or interest. Yeah, and the second one is that expenditures actually equal to income. Why? Because what your income is your expenditures. What your expenditures is your income. Because in the economy, we do believe about cyclical flow of economy. So what everybody hears, which is the income of everybody, which is the spending of others. So what your income because of the spending from others and the way around. Therefore, here every expenditures basically is the income. Therefore, if a country such as Indonesia right now uh, happens to be in the recession period, it means that there is no any expenditures and income. Yeah. So the expenditures of every citizen in this country is declining, and it will impact to the no income. Yeah. And because of no income, there's no any transactions, there's no any productions, there is no any demands, and in the end, there is no any growth in the economy. So that the economy jump into uh, the decline, yeah, in terms of the economic growth. In here, every transactions, the buyer's expenditures become the seller's incomes. Thus, the sum of all expenditures equal to the sum of all incomes. So the keywords here actually is expenditures equal to income. Income equal to expenditures. So the expenditures here actually represent the demands. Yeah, the demand, and also the income represents the supply. Actually, expenditures and income is demand and supply. So if there is any if there is any disturbance, yeah, or maybe imbalance in income or expenditures, obviously it will also impact to the economic transaction as a whole. Yeah. And the next one, sisters and brothers, last week we had learned about circular flow. This is the household and the firms. And household here represent the expenditures and income as well. And the firm also represent, yeah, the income and expenditures as well. And both sectors are dynamically interacting each other in a very circular economic flow. So if there is any disturbance in one sectors, of course, will impact to other sectors. Yeah. The next one, there is other definition of GDP beside the previous definitions. The previous definitions, if you recall again, there is a keywords of final output, yeah, domestically located or domestically produced, period of time. There's a period of time, for example, 1 year, yeah. And here we have the concept of value added, nilai tambah. So if you discuss about value added, we try to discuss about value chains in the economy. So we focus on the supply side, not in demand side. So in the previous definition, actually referring to the demand side. But now the value added refers to the supply side. In this regard, we talk about firms. So a firm's value added actually is the value of its output minus the value of the intermediate goods the firm used to produce that output. So from this simple definition, you can get some imaginations that the value added basically is the additional value before the final output is being produced. So there is any subsequent productions before the final output is produced. It means that there is any change, yeah, from the intermediate to the final goods. Let me look at the example. Here's the example. Okay, could I appoint Brother Umron? Could you please read this exercise, Brother Umron?
Okay, sir. A farmer grows a bushel of wheat and sells it to a miller for $1. The miller turns the wheat into flour and sells it to a baker for $3. The baker uses the flour to make a loaf of bread and sells it to an engineer for $6. The engineer eats the bread. Please compute the value added and each of production and GDP.
Okay, okay. Brother Umron has obviously read about the exercise. From his conversation just now, we understood that the farmer here produces wheat, that this wheat will be used to produce another uh, products. And the final product based on this story is the bread. So the bread is the final goods from this kind of supply chains. Okay, from this exercise, based on your understanding, Brother Umron, how much is the GDP based on the value added mechanisms? How much, Umron? Based on this short conversation or exercise, how much the GDP, gross domestic products, yeah, by using the
Mm,
value added methods.
$9.
Okay, could you please explain in detail how could you get this $6, please?
Uh, I said $9.
Oh, $9. Okay, $9, please. Okay, could you please just give understanding on you get how you get this $9 from this exercise?
I think because it's called value added, so from the initial value and it becomes $3, and then it's become from $3 it becomes $6. So I think it's 3 plus 6, so it's
Okay,
$9.
okay, okay, good. Okay, the next one I want to hear from Demas. Demas, are you there, Demas? I just want to ensure you are in.
Yes, sir.
Okay, could you do you have any different answer from Umron, or you have the same answer from him? Could you please raise your opinions, Dimas?
My answer is $5, sir.
Okay, why, Dimas?
Because from farmer to miller, he can get $2, and from the
Mhm.
miller and baker, he can get $3, and then we can compute all of that. So $5.
Okay, thank you for your opinions. The next one I want to hear from Arik Mustafa Khairi. Arik, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Arik. I think you have different answer.
No.
So what do you
Uh,
think about this exercise? How much the GDP should be?
uh,
1, 3, 6, 9, 5, or
uh,
yes, Arik, please just answer. Don't worry. There is no accent.
Yes.
How much, Arik?
I think uh, I'm with Umron, sir. $10.
$9.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the last one. I want to hear from uh Sister Nana. Nana Dwi Ayu Ning Tias. Nana, please. Nana, are you there? Are you with us or with others? Okay, Nana. Nana physically is not here, yeah, even though the picture is here. Okay, the next one. I want to hear the last one here. Safira Anissa Putri. Please, Safira.
I think $3, sir.
Why very, very, very low, $3? How you get this $3?
It's the final price rate minus with the $3 before it sell to the baker.
Okay. Okay. Last one. Um, last one here is Rifki. Rifki, supposed to be different the answer.
My answer, I think same with Demas,
How
$5,
much?
$5.
$5. Okay. Let me check again your answer, sisters. Okay, I just want to emphasize the term of value added. Yeah. Okay, let me see from different slide, from previous slide. Value added is the value of its output minus the value of the intermediate goods the firm used to produce that output. Okay, I want to hear from you first, sisters and brothers. What is the final output of this exercise?
$6.
No. What the name of the final output of this exercise, Umran?
Bread.
Bread. Okay, bread. Yeah, not wheat, not flour. Yeah. Okay, the bread is the last and final goods or output. So now, what is the intermediate output before the bread is produced? Flour. What else, Umran? Wheat and
Flour, right?
yeah, flour, wheat, and zero.
Dimas true.
Yeah, and zero. You mean that no existence doesn't exist before wheat? Maybe no others. Yeah. Okay then. From that long story, yeah, I want to ask you one by one. Maybe Fira, yeah, Safira, Anissa Putri. How much, Safira, yeah, before the wheat is produced? Or I may say, what is the value added of the wheat?
1.
Okay, noted. 1. Demas, how much the value added of the flour, Demas?
It means
2 maybe.
Yes, correct.
Oh.
Maybe, but you correct. Yeah. The last one, Arik, how much the value added of the bread?
$3.
$3. Now, the concept of value added basically is to sum up all the processes that has been in place before the bread is produced. How much, Umran?
$2.
How much? Sorry?
$2.
No. All. How much? All.
Oh.
The all value added to produce the bread. How much?
$5.
$5? Not true.
$6.
$6. I think you are wrongly understand the concept of value added since the beginning. From a farm growth a basel of wheat. Of course, before the wheat is grown, the farmers doesn't no longer have any single wheat. It means that the value added here is 1. The second, the miller, before the floor is the wet, and wet to the floor from 1 to 3. So the value added is 2. And the last one from the floor to the bread is 3 to 6. So please add 0 to 1 is 1, 2 to 3 is 2, and 3 to 6 is 3. So 1 plus 2 plus 3. How much, Umran?
$5.
$6.
Six.
$6. So from this kind of simple exercise, basically you are given to understand that the value of GDP can be calculated from 2 different approaches. The first approach by looking at the final goods of the products, namely the bread. How much? 6. And the second approach by looking at the value added at every stage of productions. 1 plus 2 plus 3, 6. All those approaches have the same kind of numbers. So this one is the second approach of the value added. I hope you understand this process. Yeah. Okay, this is just the simple explanations. The GDP here is the value of final good produced. or the sum of value added at all stages of productions. Ya. Dengar suara mesin teman-teman sekalian? Ada? Nggak ada ya? Oke, nggak ada ya. Nggak berisik ya? Nggak ya? Oke. Oke, the next one. The value of the final goods already includes the value of intermediate goods. So including intermediate goods in GDP would be double counting. So you need to differentiate between the value of final good and intermediate goods. In other words, there is no any double counting. So if you are using the value of final good produce, just put the final one, the final products. But if you use the value added approach, so just add all stages of production, not both of them are used all together. Yeah. Okay, the next one. Oh, any questions, sisters, brothers, before we continue? Okay, the next one, yeah, expenditures component of GDP, yeah, we will discuss this next week, yeah, not now. CIGNX, yeah, next week we will discuss this one, yeah, and I will just process to the next one here about the GDP and GNP. Okay, here. Okay, in national growth, in national income, we have two different terminology that every one or of students mostly wrongly understand about GDP and GNP. If you read the statements, the GNP, gross national product, is total income earned by the nation factors of productions, regardless of where located. And GDP, total income earned by domestically located factors of productions, regardless of nationality. Okay, from these two terminology, I just want to hear from you, sisters and brothers, hear from Sister Fatwa. Which one between the GNP and GDP that mostly represents the national income of a country? Fatwa. Or
Yes, sir.
if you are the policy makers of this country, which one is the proxy to measure our national income, whether GNP or GDP?
Mm, maybe GNP.
Okay, maybe it means that you are not quite sure on that. Okay, we try to discuss a bit. GNP, for example, very simple example. Sister Fatwa here, having graduated from IPF, you are working in Malaysia as the professionals labor. And I'm here, yeah, as a lecturer in Indonesia. Yeah. So both of us are Indonesian citizens. And based on this kind of facts, so the fatwa's income, whatever you earn from your working place, is recorded as the GNP. And also, Brother Demas, perhaps you're working in other countries outside Indonesia and you earn income from your workplace, and your income there is recorded as the GNP. Yeah. So in that regards, yeah, whatever income that Indonesian citizen got from any place in other parts of the world, not only in Indonesia, are counted as the GNP. But differently, if you are a GDP, yeah, for example, Demas here is not Indonesian citizens. He's a foreign citizen, yeah, and working in Yogyakarta as lecturer. And I am also here a lecturer of UMY in Indonesia. So both of us, our income earned from Indonesian's governments are counted as GDP. So from this simple understanding, yeah, so GDP actually is the income earned from whatever citizens working in Indonesia only, not counting the Indonesian citizens that are working outside Indonesia. But the GNP here different. It is only counted the income from Indonesian citizens, regardless the location where they work. In other words, sisters and brothers, actually, is GNP is really accommodate and represents the real income of the Indonesian citizens. But GDP basically maybe, yeah, is not really represent our income, because the GDP not only counting the Indonesian citizen income but also the foreign labor that working in Indonesia. So we do worry that even though the GDP in Indonesia is very huge, but the share of the real Indonesian citizen perhaps quite small. Yeah. So therefore, the GDP basically is quite biased somehow. And here we have a formula, GNP, GDP. Yeah. If the factor payment, so GNP here is the factor payment from abroad. GDP is factor payment to abroad. So in other words, GDP actually tends to remit the income remittance outside Indonesia. The fund is running out from Indonesia. But GNP, the income tend to be transferred into Indonesia. So the next one, the next slide. In your country, which would you want to be bigger, GDP or GNP? Why? From the above definition, we could agree that the GNP should be the bigger compared to the GDP, because the GNP is the income that really represent the Indonesian citizens' income or earning across the world. But GDP here only represent the income either Indonesia or foreign citizens that are working in Indonesia only. Yeah, and the share of the GDP may be higher contributed by the foreign, not the local citizens, if we look at the GDP only. And here is the representative and the figure GNP minus GDP as the percentage of GDP growth for selected countries in 1997. You can see, sisters and brothers, here among the selected countries, we can see that only few of them that are recorded as the positive sign. Only Saudi Arabia, Singapore, yeah, Bangladesh, and USA. What the meaning of the positive side? From this percentage, we can conclude that the country that have the positive percentage between the GNP and GDP, it means that this country get higher number of income, yeah, from their real citizens or native citizens, or this country has a huge transfer income into the country from out the country. Yeah. And the way around, if the percentage is negative, it means that there are huge of fund running out from the country to the another countries. Yeah. So from this one, Bangladesh, for example, positive 3.3%. So it does mean that there are so many Bangladeshi that are working outside the country, contributing much to the growth of the GDP in Bangladesh. So there are so many huge fund remittance into Bangladesh compared to the fund outside running out from Bangladesh to other countries. Yeah. And here we can also see Saudi Arabia and Singapore. Yeah, Singapore also positive. Yeah. And the country that has the positive, quite also here positive. Yeah. It means that the citizen has a huge income and they are have the good welfare or prosperity, yeah, compared to others, because the fund collected from them is able to contribute much to the GDP development in Indonesia or in particular countries. Any other questions so far, sisters and brothers, from this one? Ada pertanyaan?
So far, no question.
Okay, Alhamdulillah, no questions. Hopefully you're clear. Next one, we try to look at the real and nominal GDP. Okay, why we are using GDP then, even though we know that GNP is maybe better compared to the GDP? The main reason why many countries use the GDP, because GDP is quite easily calculated compared to the GNP. Because if you use the GNP, somehow very difficult to find out the data from the citizen, the native citizen, yeah, that working across Indonesia, for example. So the statistic is not there, but nominal GDP, but the GDP is quite simple, because GDP basically is calculated through the production, expenditures, and income of all citizens located in Indonesia, regardless nationality. Yeah, so the main reason is because of the simplicity. Yeah, and GDP here basically divided into two, nominal and real GDP. But if you next time would like to research in the area of GDP, my humble suggestion, please use the real GDP. Because the nominal GDP is the GDP that include the inflations in the calculations. So the GDP is not the real as if, because has been bubble due to inflation rate. So the real GDP here is the most appropriate measurement for measuring the economic growth. And here is the GDP can be calculated through the price and quantity of output produced. Yeah. Okay, here the example, sisters and brothers. Practice problem. 2001, 2002, 2003. You have two goods, good A and good B. The price and quantity is here. Yeah, either 1, 2, and 3. Please compute nominal GDP in each year. So if you are requested to calculate the nominal GDP in each year, you just simply multiply the P and Q and sum up good A and good B. So and 2 as well, and 3 as well. Okay, let me see the answer here. Here is the answer. Nominal GDP 2001, 46 to 100. From 30 times 900 here plus 100 times 162. And please do it subsequently 2002, and 2003, and you get this one. Differently, if you are requested to calculate the real GDP, you cannot simply just multiply P and Q, but you have to look at the base year, tahun dasar. Yeah. In this regard, the 2001 is used as the base year. Okay, how to calculate then? So you use this price as the base year. So in every calculation of other year, you must use the P of 2001. For example, the GDP of 2001 simply just add good A plus good B by using P and Q of 2001. But for 2002 here, you multiply here the price used is the price of 2001 times the Q 2002 price, the good B 100 multiplied by 200. Please look here. So every year use the price that is based on the 2001, and you get the different numbers. And if you see the numbers here, 2002 and 2003 have the lower number compared to the nominal GDP. For example, 2001, the same 36 to 100 because it is the base year, should be the same. And 2002 here, the real GDP is lower compared to the nominal GDP, lower 1,400. So it means that 1,400 actually is the bubble, should be not included in the GDP, but it is because of inflations, yeah. So the GDP nominal is there. And the entry here 58,300 and the real only 52, different almost 6,300. Yeah. So here is the simple calculation how to calculate the nominal and real GDP. So what are different between the real and nominal GDP? The main difference is the real GDP uses the base year. And the next one is the difference in the graphs. Yeah, the red one is the nominal GDP, and the red one is the real GDP, and the yellow one is the nominal GDP. Here. The next one is the GDP deflator. So deflator actually is what extent the GDP is deflated. Deflated means is increasing. Yeah. On that regard, you are comparing between the nominal GDP and real GDP then. Yeah. Times 100. Yeah, 100. And normally this GDP deflator is used to calculate the inflation rate. Yeah. Here the example. 2001 nominal GDP 46,200. Real GDP should be the same. So and 2 here 51,400 and real only 50. 2003 58,300 and real GDP 52. So how much the GDP deflator? Here GDP deflator nominal over real times 100. 56,200 times 100. Deflator is 100. Yeah. And 2002 here 51,400 over 50,000 times 100. You got 102.8. And 2003 as well 58,300 over 52 times 100, you got 112.1. And based on this GDP deflator, you can calculate the inflation rate. How to calculate inflation rate? You just take the 102.8 minus the previous one, minus 100, over 100 times 100%. I repeat again, you got 2.8% here as the inflation rate from 102.8 minus 100 over 100 and times 100%. So the result here 2.8%, and the same ways if you calculate the inflation of 2003. Any questions so far, sisters, brothers, from here?
Sir, can you repeat, sir?
Which one? Repeat.
Yes.
Which one, Demas?
The how to calculate the inflation rate.
Okay, the inflation rate actually is based on this formula, Demas. So to calculate the inflation rate, first of all, you have to divide the GDP deflator. And GDP deflator here is calculated through 100 times nominal GDP over real GDP. Here the example. So you have the nominal 46, the real 46. So GDP deflator will be 46 to 100 nominal GDP over real GDP times 100. So 1 times 100. So you got here GDP deflator of 2001 is 100. 2002 here, you comparing 51,400 against or over 50,000. And the results times 100. You get here 102.8. And the next one, the same way, you get 112.1. So from this one, how you then calculate the inflations? By comparing the deflation, the deflator of 2002 with deflator of 2001. Namely, 102.8 minus 100. Okay, one you have got this number, let's keep it, and this result over 100. So if I just slowly repeat again, 102.8 minus 100, you got 2.8. This 2.8 divided by 100, you got around 0.028. And once you got this 0.028 times 100%, so you got here 2.8%. The same way you apply to the 2003 and you get 9.1%. I hope it is clear, Dimas.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, if you
Sir,
have
I'm
raised...
sorry.
Okay, please, sisters.
Not 9.3%, sir.
Okay, doesn't matter. It is just the issue of decimals. Yeah, you can just put 9.1 or 9.2. It depends on the decimal that you agreed upon. Okay, thank you
Oh,
for the corrections.
okay, thank you.
Yes. Any other feedbacks before we continue? Okay, if there is no any questions, I will just continue to the unemployment. Okay, here. Before we go to the practical applications. Yeah. Okay, before we understand the unemployment rate, we have to know also the populations. Yeah. So in the populations perspective, yeah, we have four different terminologies. The first is employed, working at a paid job. In Indonesia, normally the one that considered to be employed is the one that have 8 hours a day, yeah, for the working period. So if you're working in a day for 8 hours, you are considered to be employed. Unemployed, not employed but looking for jobs. And the next one, labor force, the amount of labor available for production, good and product services, all employed plus unemployed persons. So mathematically, labor force is employed plus unemployed. And the last one is not in the labor force, not employed, not looking for work. My question is, student like you is employed or unemployed, sisters and brothers? Any idea, please?
Not in the labor force.
Not.
Okay, not in labor force. Because you are not in labor force, you are not considered as unemployed. Right. Okay. Okay, you are right, sisters, brothers. Because you are now is not looking for jobs, yeah. So you are excluded as labor force. So if you are not working now, you are not the unemployment, yeah. You are not the labor force because you are not looking for work, yeah. Next one. Okay, the importance, two important labor force concepts is the unemployment rate and labor force participation rate. So for this regard, we are talking about the people who are in labor force, not non-labor force. So you are excluded from this topic actually. Yeah. Unemployment rate means percentage of the labor force that is unemployed. I think you understood. Yeah, you understand this one. And labor force participation rate is the fractions, the percentage, or the parts, the shares of the adult population that participates in the labor force. In Indonesian case, the labor force actually started from 17 years old until 64 years old. Yeah, so if you are between this period of age, yeah, you are considered as the labor force. But labor force means you are looking for jobs. But if you are students, you are not, even though you are within these intervals. Yeah. Okay, next one. Exercise. US adult population by group by April 2002. Number employed 134, number unemployed 986.6, adult populations 213.5 million. Use the above data to calculate the labor force, the number of people not in labor force, the labor force participation rate, and the unemployment rate. So from this regard, we know the population is 213.5, and from this population, we divide into two parts. The first is labor force and non-labor force. Yeah, and non-labor force, the labor force is divided into two parts. The first is employed and unemployed. And here is the result. The data: employed 134.0, unemployed 8.6, population 2.3.5. Labor force L equal to E plus U, 134 plus 6.8.6 equal to 142.6. It does mean that the in labor force is the population minus the labor. Yeah, we got 70.9. And unemployment rate here, so the fraction between the employed and the labor force. So employment rate here is 9.6 over 1 to 142.9 or 6% times 100%. The labor force participation rate means the labor force or the population within the labor force over the total populations. So we got 68.8%. So from this data, actually, sisters and brothers, we may conclude that in the US, in 2002, out of the populations, only 68.8% that are working, that are considered to be the labor force. So the labor force only 68.8%. It means that the people that are looking for jobs and the people who are working, and whereby the age also within the productive age. Yeah, and the remaining of 31.2% are not considered to be labor force. For example, children, yeah, students, maybe the older, yeah, they are not longer as the labor force. And from this labor force, we have been informed that 6% considered to be unemployed. So unemployment here does not cover the overall populations, but only just taking a few parts of the labor force. So for example, in case of Indonesia right now, if our unemployment rate is 10%, it does mean that from 10% of the 250 million people. No. So 250 million is our populations. But the labor force, how much? From 250,000. So from these terminologies, you have understood now that the unemployment basically is counted through only from labor force, not from overall populations. Any other questions, sisters, brothers, before we continue, please? Ada pertanyaan, silakan.
Clear, sir.
Okay, clear. Okay, alhamdulillah, if you clear, we can continue. So look, talking about the labor force and also GDP, we are given one law called Okun's law. So Okun's law actually tries to relate between the GDP and unemployment. So from this law, he said that employed workers help produce GDP, while unemployed workers do not. So one would expect there is a negative relationship between unemployment and real GDP. So what does it mean from the negative relationship? It means that if unemployment rate increases, so the GDP will decline. I repeat again, yeah, based on the Auckland law, yeah, there is a relationship between the unemployment and GDP growth. So if the unemployment increases, so will impact to the declining of the GDP the way around. Yeah. This relationship is clear in the data. Here, the data. Here is the percentage, the vertical axis is percentage change in the real GDP, and the horizontal axis represents the change in unemployment rate. So here is the period since 1951, yeah, until until 2000, and you see the dots, yeah, is showing the negative trend, yeah. So it means that if, for example, here the unemployment rate -2%, yeah, the percentage of real growth GDP will be almost 8%. And if the unemployment rate here changes for 2 until 3%, so the percentage change in real GDP is almost 0%. So the Okun law stated then that a 1% decreases in unemployment is associated with 2 percentage points of additional growth of in real GDP. So there is a negative relationship. So why it happens, sisters and brothers? Why there is a negative, not positive? Because if you see from here, GDP basically is the additional income and spending from individuals that will make up the nation income. So if everybody in the country is working, it means that the flows of income and spending will be higher and higher due to production processes. Yeah, but the way around, because of the unemployment happens or take place, no income, no expenditures, so no produces, no productions. So no productions means no supply, and there is no any outputs or products. So no output product eventually will downgrade or decline the value of good and the value of money. So that the GDP here will be declining due to diminishing income and diminishing of the product in particular country. Yeah, this is the reasons. The last one, we summarize, sisters and brothers. GDP measures both total income and total expenditures of the economy's output of goods and services. Nominal GDP values output at current prices. Real GDP values output at constant price. Constant means the base year. Changes in output affect both measures, but changes in price only affect nominal GDP. So if the output changes, it will affect either price and output itself. But if the price only, the change of the price only, it will also only affect the nominal income. So from these two different definitions, we do agree that the real GDP is the most appropriate and important measurements in order to measure the nation income or national growth compared to the nominal GDP. Yeah. And GDP is the sum of consumption, investment. Next week we'll discuss in detail about this. And the overall level of prices can be measured next week. Yeah, next week we'll discuss. Yeah. And the last one, the unemployment rate is the fraction of the labor force that is not employed. When unemployment rises, the growth rate of real GDP falls. So on this regard, sisters and brothers, if you want to make this country prosper, no unemployment at all, there's no any ways, except you have to ensure that the growth of products take place. You have to ensure that the price is not rising gradually, but you have to ensure that the goods and services is growing gradually. No price but good and services should be take place. So the real sectors must be the leaders in the countries, not the nominal one, because nominal somehow is not real, because nominal is the accumulation of the inflation inside, not the real income of the society itself. Yeah. So if you are become the leader of tomorrow, please ensure that your policy will be targeting not the price, but you must ensure that the product is available in a lower price or in affordable price, and everybody can afford that good and services, and the price keeps stable. So from this perspective, so the income of everybody will be having purchasing power. So you have purchasing power. It means your money has purchasing power. Yeah. So that the prosperity is there. And the way around, if the price is keeping higher and higher, in the same time, there is no any real goods being produced, but the price is going up, and the good is not grow up as the high growth of the money itself. What happens then? The growth of money beyond the growth of goods, so the inflation take place. The inflation take place, the purchasing power decreasing, and ultimately nobody uh, cannot afford. Nobody afford the price, and the prosperity will be declined. And ultimately, of course, because of uh, the money is growth beyond the real products, the unemployment will be there. So actually, unemployment is the result of the slowing down of the GDP itself. So if the GDP is going up, automatically the unemployment rate will be declining, and the way around. Okay, that's all for the first material. Before we go to the practical applications, any questions, sisters, brothers, please? Any questions? No questions? Yes, please. Could you louder, please, Rifki? I cannot hear yours.
Uh, di luar buku ini Pak, saya download filenya nggak sama Pak, filenya Pak. Tidak sama seperti yang Bapak tampilkan Pak.
Download from my class.
Yes, sir.
Okay, please open the page. Have you can you open page 7 7 to 6?
I'm sorry, sir, but I have a different file with you, and I just have ini buku Pak sampai 461 halaman Pak.
Okay. Could you please share, Rifki? Could you please share through the MS Teams? Could you please share your book that you have downloaded, please?
Bentar.
Could you show us what the file that you have downloaded?
This one.
Yes, please.
I got this file from my class.
Okay, the same book as I have.
Nggak sama kayak yang barusan Bapak tunjukin di kelas Pak.
Okay, could you move to the next the last page, please?
This one.
Can you find any slide inside there? No slide.
No slide, sir. It's only
Okay, only the material.
material. Material.
Okay, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's good for you, Rifki, so that you can read all the material inside the book, not only the slides. This is okay, Rifki?
Ya, lebih simpel, Pak.
Okay, Rifki. Yeah, I will supply you the slide, so but you can read the book. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Okay, next one. Next one. We go to the next one. Oh, sorry. The practical applications now. I hope everybody here not only just look at the handphone, but you have to use your laptop as well, so you can easily download and see what we are going to practice. Yeah, sisters and brothers. Okay, this one. Okay, I hope everybody has already see this one. Okay, second meeting, the data of macroeconomics. Yeah, I will give you just the practical applications here. Yeah. Okay, brother Umron, could you please just read the first statement, Umron?
GDP measures both the total income of everyone in the economy and the total expenditure on the economy's output of goods and services. GDP can measure two things at once because both are really the same thing. For an economy as a whole, income must equal expenditure, as the circular flow diagram in the text illustrated. These are alternatives, equivalent ways of measuring the flow of dollars in the economy. Thank you.
Yeah, this is just the brief recalling previous discussions on GDP measurements. Yeah, total income or the value added and value added. Okay, the next one. I want to hear Demas, please. Demas, could you please number 3?
The Bureau of
The
Labor
Bureau.
Statistics. The Bureau of Labor Statistics classifies each person into one of the following three categories: employed, unemployed, or not in the labor force. The unemployment rate, which is the percentage of the labor force that is unemployment, is computed as follows: unemployment rate equal to number of
Yeah,
unemployment
times 100
times 100
over labor
over
force.
labor force. Note that the labor force is the number of people employed plus the number of people unemployed.
Okay, this is just recalling, yeah, the previous discussions. The next one, Arik.
Okun's law refers to the negative relationship that exists between unemployment and real GDP. Employed workers help produce goods and services, whereas unemployed workers do not. Increases in the unemployment rate are therefore associated with decreases in real GDP. Okun's law can be summarized by the equation uh,
Percentage
percentage
delta real
delta real
GDP
GDP equal 3% minus 2
time
times delta unemployment rate. That is, if unemployment does not change, the growth rate of real GDP is 3%. For every percentage point change in unemployment, for example, a fall from 6% to 5%, or an increase from 6% to 7%, output changed by 2% in the opposite direction.
Oke, thank you Arik. Arik ini seperti belum makan aja ya, nggak semangat ini. Puasa Arik ya, Senin ya. Nah. Okay, this open law refers to the negative relationship, yeah, between the change of real GDP and the unemployment rate. So not the nominal GDP, yeah, but the real GDP. Real GDP refers to the output or the products. And real output or product refers to the unemployments. Because real GDP could be represented by the supply side, and unemployment rate actually could be represented through the supply side. Yeah, sorry, the demand side. The real GDP is the supply, unemployment rate is demand side. So supply and demand must be in balance. So if the real GDP here, for example, the supply is growing down, no factory, no firm produces any single goods. So it means that no any additional workers, or maybe there is any uh, unemployed workers will be taking place, yeah, by the firms, yeah, and unemployment will be rising. So from this one, unemployment must be related to the real GDP. Real means refers to the output, not the price. If you talk about price, it will refer to the nominal GDP. But if you talk about the real or product, it will refer to the real GDP. Yeah. Next one. Okay, this the previous examples. Yeah, I think we have discussed previously. Yeah, the answer exactly here, Umron. Yeah, I have already put the answer. Value added by each person is the value of the good produced minus the amount of person paid for the material necessary to make the good. Therefore, the value added by the farmer is $1. 1 minus 0. The value added by the miller is 2. She sells the flour to the baker for 3, but paid 1 for the flour. The value added by the baker is 3. She sells the bread to the engineer for the 6, but paid the miller is 3 for the flour. GDP is the total the value of 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 6. Note that the GDP equals to the value of final goods. So the GDP also can be the final goods, namely 6, or supply chains process 1, 2, 3 equal to 6. Yeah. Next one. Okay. This one is the practical application, sisters and brothers. By the way, I give you another 50 minutes from now. Could you please just write down the questions? Yeah. And could you please share the answer then? Okay, I will bigger. 15 minutes, sisters, brothers, from now. Consider an economy that produces and consumes bread and automobiles. In the following table are data for the two different years. Years 2000 and the years 2010. Price of an automobile 50,000 and 60,000. Price of the loaf of bread 10 and 20. Number of automobiles produced 10, 100 and 120. Number of loaves of bread produced 50,000. Yeah, 50, 5,100. Yeah, and 100,000. The questions. Using the year 2000, sisters and brothers, as the base year, please compute the following statistic for each year: nominal GDP, real GDP, the implicit price deflator for GDP, and the fixed wage price index for us, the CPI. Okay, sisters, brothers, I give you 15 minutes from now. Could you please just settle these questions and we will discuss after 15 minutes from now, please. Okay, sisters, brothers, the time is up. Okay, I want to hear from anybody here who have already tried the questions. Sister Fira, Safira Anissa,
Yes.
have you finished?
I'm wrong at the price. Moment, I still counting.
Okay, so have you finished the first question, sister, about the nominal GDP?
Yes, I wrong it price. I think 200. It means it's 120. Sorry, sir. I'm still counting from the
Okay,
first.
the next one. Oh, unfortunately, Adinda, are you there, Adinda?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Have you finished?
I haven't done in GDP deflator.
Okay, could you mention, sister? Okay, I will just check your answer. I just remove the slide. Okay, sister Adinda, how much the
Yes,
real
sir.
GDP? How much the real GDP in 2010?
Uh, my answer is three 300.
300? How come? How you calculate the 300? Could you please just mention the process from which process you got 300?
Sorry, sir. I still confused. So I cal- so I calculate twice between automobiles and love jet.
Oh, you wrongly then. Okay, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I will call another names. Um, Fatwa, Sister Fatwa, are you
Yes,
there?
sir.
Okay,
Yes.
could you please mention your answer? How much the real GDP in 2010, please?
Real GDP is 500,000.
500,000.
Yes.
The real GDP, the real
Yeah.
GDP in 2010.
I still confused, sir. I'm sorry. I still counting.
Okay. Next one. Umron Khoiri. Supposed to be done, Umron.
Yes, sir.
Okay, how much your real GDP, Umron, in 2010?
In 2010.
Yes.
Uh, uh, can I just write it in the chat, sir?
Okay, just mention how much? Huh?
I
How
guess
much?
1 million.
How much? Answer?
10, 1100 million to
1100 million?
2000, yeah, and 200,000. Yeah.
Wow, so complicated numbers. Okay. The next one, Demas Sagita Putri.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, how much your real GDP, Demas, 2010?
10 billion. 10 million.
10?
Million.
Correct,
Correct.
Demas. Yes, correct. Exactly. Okay, Dimas. If you have correctly answered this real GDP, then how much the implicit price deflator, Dimas?
For 2010, sir.
Yes, yes. How much? Please just
one.
put the formula. Nominal GDP over real GDP times 100.
Yeah.
How much?
152.
Correct, Dimas. Oke, Dimas. Ya. Oke, Dimas ya. Yang lain tanya sama Dimas itu nanti. Oke, I will show you the detailed answer. For those who cannot finish or you maybe still wrongly understand the process. Okay, here. Okay, here the answer. I'll just make it bigger. Okay, the first one. Nominal GDP is the total value of goods and services measured at current prices. Therefore, nominal GDP in 2000 is price 2000, yeah, price of cars times Q of cars 2000 plus P of bread times Q of bread 2000 and 2000. So you got here 500,000, 5,000 out 5 million, sorry, 5 million, 5 millions, 10 millions. Nominal GDP 2010, price of cars 2010 times Q of cars 2010 plus P of bread 2010 plus Q of bread 2010. You got 15.2 millions. Real GDP is the total value of goods and services measured at constant prices. Therefore, to calculate the GDP in 2010 with the base year 2000, multiply the quantity purchased in year 2010 by the 2000 prices. So you only multiply, sisters and brothers, the price of cars, yeah, here and bread by using 2000. But the Q, you are using the same year, 2010. So you got 10 millions. And the next one, real GDP for 2000 is calculated by multiplying the quantities in 2000 by the prices in 2000. Since the base year is the 2000, real GDP equals nominal GDP, which is 10,000. Yeah. Hence, the real GDP stay the same between 2000 and 2010. The implicit deflator, you just use the formula, nominal over real, 15.2 over 10, you got 1.52. This calculation reveals that the prices of the goods produced in the year 2010 increased by 52% compared to the price that the goods to the economy sold for 2000. Because in the 2000, the base year, the value for the implicit price deflator for the year 2000 is only 1 or 100. Because the base year actually the same value between the nominal and real is the same at the base year period. Therefore, if you comparing between the 1.52 with the 1, you got 52% increase numbers or inflation around 52% in the 1 decade. Okay, that's all, sisters and brothers. I will share this slide, doesn't matter, into the my class. Yeah, please do take some exercise again, and please do any other reading. Yeah, and the next week, inshallah, we'll continue the discussion on the next part about the calculation for the GDP. Okay, any other questions, sisters, brothers, before we end the discussion, please?
I have no question, but I have. Can I ask you to open the my class quiz again, sir? And the Kahoot.
Okay.
Because
the Kahoot.
The Kahoot last week, the last week Kahoot and quiz, because I cannot access it at the time.
I think because of the Kahoot period has been ended.
Yeah, because the period. Can you open it again, sir?
Yeah, I will rating again. Yeah, I will rating that your considerations because we have informed that the period of Kahoot is 1 week, so you have 6 days or 7 days actually. Yeah, let me think and inform you next time. Yeah, inform you later. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments regarding with the lesson today, sisters brothers?
Yes,
Enough.
sir. Can you share this material in my class or in
Sure,
WhatsApp?
sure. I will share in
Okay.
my class, not WhatsApp. Yeah, so if you can answer, you can download by your own. Okay, sisters and brothers, that's all for today discussions. I do thank you with all your participation and attentions. Yeah, I hope you can keep your spirit up and we can study together until the end of the semester. Yeah, and you can stay updating the class sessions in your my class or the next session and next session, and of course by looking at the book that has been downloaded. Yeah, and next week inshallah we'll discuss, carry on the discussion on next page. Please just read your book, online book. Yeah. Okay, with that we end the session, sisters and brothers, with alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, rabbil alamin. Thank you very much again and see you next week. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wow.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam